Welcome to Dead Drifters Society.
Welcome to the podcast, Marin. How's it going?
Very good. You? Thank you so much for having me in here.
Yeah, no worries. So, I guess you're out in Chile. You want to explain to me where you're from and kind of how you got into the fly fishing scene?
Well, I'm originally from Chile, near Santiago, wine country area. I got into fly fishing by an ad that I saw in first year of university. I just see an ad that says, "Do you want to be a fishing guide during the summer?" I like fishing because my dad used to take me fishing and trolling in the lakes. And I would always see the fly fishermen. It's like, oh man, those guys look so cool doing their thing in there, trying to do something. Never actually got to see them catching fish. I would just pass by, but I always was in it. So in university, when I see this ad, it was a guide school from a guy, well-known guide already in Chile. That it's Andres Gonzalez, and well, I took his guide school, and he got me a gig as a host in a lodge. I was like 19 years old at the moment. So I I went on working this lodge as a host. I ended up guiding the very same season. Like I learned a lot with Andres. Don't get me wrong, but obviously, once you get into the lodge, you realize that even in 3 months, he was not able to put everything that you need to actually guide, especially somebody who was not into fly fishing at the moment. There's so many other things that you have to learn besides the fishing to be a guide. So I ended up guiding because the guides in that lodge were super, super nice to me. They helped me out a lot and taught me. So I ended up guiding. And then I kept guiding in the same lodge at the beginning. Then other lodges where I actually learned how to row, how to jet boat. Um, and then I ended up moving region from northern Patagonia down to southern Patagonia and started working with another company that's more into spey, and they had a heli fishing operation at the moment in Cape Horn. So I ended up, having. Meanwhile, I was in university, guiding, and obviously from the beginning not knowing that much, but then learning a lot and spent like around 5 seasons, 6 seasons working in all these operations. And then life finished university. Life took me somewhere else. I lived in the States for a little bit. Then on COVID, everything broke down. We came back to Chile, and I decided, that I wanted to be a guide again. It's like it's not able after when you start reconsidering things, especially after the COVID hit, that everybody was isolated or alone in their houses. Yeah, I realized I missed this so much in the last 5 years. Meanwhile, I was doing something else professionally. I did miss a lot being a guide, so went back at it. Came back to Magallanes, and obviously with Andres, I spoke again. I ended up um, working with him as well in Patagonia, and with the approach of someday maybe guiding Canada if the things happen. Paperwork, a lot of paperwork to be done, especially in BC, where you need to not only have a work permit, but you also need to be a permanent resident, and that's something that I'm not. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. If it isn't there, it's there. If it is somewhere else, it is somewhere else. But with high hopes of actually going into Canada.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically my fishing story in I don't know how many minutes.
Yeah, there we go. I love it. Yeah, so then that was, we've talked about it before, and obviously we met on the Bull River up
Hmm.
in I guess in Fernie, kind of in between Fernie. Anyways, we met on the Bull River. So that was pretty sweet. So you just went out there to, I guess, kind of work for a guide company, but you weren't guiding. You were doing the shuttles / just learning the area, so you were a little more free.
Yeah.
How long?
Exactly.
How long were you there for?
Like about 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was super fun. I learned a lot, especially getting to know all the guys. There is a big community in difference of what there is in Patagonia, So you get to see a lot of different points of views in the way they fish. You see them how they behave among themselves. Because for me, when I'm guiding in Patagonia and I see somebody else, I get like, in Torres del Paine not, but in other places it's like, why is he here? And if he's here, should I just go? Or ask him, why are you doing here? Dude, there's so many other places, so you don't have to see each other.
Mm,
So in here you see 10 boats going same stretch every day, and at the end of the day you still ask all these people, um, how was their day, and mostly it was a good day. Everybody sort of caught fish, maybe not a lot, maybe yes they caught a lot, but everybody caught fish.
yeah.
And here, it's not that it happens what I'm going to tell you, but like you feel as a guy that if you see somebody else you're not going to catch fish.
Mm,
And obviously you realize after looking in all these other places where you see more boats often. Yeah, like it's obviously comparing the proportions of amount of fish that there is in Canada where the trout is native and compared to Patagonia where the trout is not native. you
mhm.
know so obviously there is a minor population of trouts in the river per se.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that kind of leads into the next question. What you said, there's king salmon there.
Yeah,
Obviously brown trout, rainbows. Is that pretty much sums it up, or?
yeah, there is brook trout in some parts of Cape Horn and in other ponds in Tierra del Fuego and lakes. But yeah, in Argentina they have them in some lakes up in northern area of Argentina, northern areas. But in here is majority brown trout, I would say. Rainbow in some parts,
Mhm.
but uh, brown trout is everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and I guess that's what, when I think Patagonia, I'm usually thinking brown trout because that's what most people talk about. Anyone that I've known that's gone up there. So, and you said they're not native. Do you know when they got introduced?
Yeah, they got introduced first by a aristocrat called Isidora Bienechea, who brought her British friends to hang out in her coal mine. And they would say like, "Oh, it would be so nice if there was trout, if there was trout." So she introduced the first brown trout from Germany in the 1920s and 30s. And then there is this president, Germán Riesco, who actually said, you know what, we should just have trout everywhere because in here the fish majoritarily are like bait fish, are small minnows. So uh, when they introduced the brown trout, it was perfect because a lot of the people from farms or things like that, they would be able to go fishing and actually get a meal out of it. It was a good idea to populate other areas as well. When you have something that it's a little bit more interesting in what you can actually hunt and catch.
Yeah.
So until today, people, I think, culturally speaking, here we have an issue, big issue, that is that people kill a lot of fish. They don't cover the quota. Like there is not a lot of fiscalization, enforcing of the law.
Mm,
So some people, they just go with their bags and they just fill up their bags and they just leave. But still, the fishing is good, and even though like you can, we would love to have more enforcing. The people are taking it because it's culturally something that they have done for not only them but their parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents, lately since the 30s and 40s. So what you cannot, yeah, expect them to change from the in one night. You need a lot more work to be done in
yeah.
Chile in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like when it's cultural, to be, catching your meals and stuff, it's kind of like it's a lot to ask to like, hey, put those back, don't keep those.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's basically when they were introduced, and then salmon later on is, and particularly Atlantic salmon, and then on the 80s, this Japanese company came here with the idea of putting king salmon in Chilean rivers, and then actually let them be. And when they were gonna come back, they were gonna put nets and catch them all, and they waited 4 or 5 years. Nothing actually happened, and they said, "You know what? It didn't work out. Let's just pack and go." And then suddenly, a few years later, they started appearing spontaneously in everywhere.
Mm,
So maybe they put the nets in the wrong places. They went to different rivers. Well, nobody knows. Maybe they took a little bit longer to spawn in this kind of area, but after the fourth and fifth year didn't come, so they just stayed, and the people pretty much own the salmon right now. It's part of the ecosystem for nowadays, and it's impressive that it was planted in some parts of Chile, and now it went all the way down through Cape Horn. It's going through the Rio Grande that has king salmon, that this river flows into the Atlantic. So they went around, and now they're going into the Atlantic, where they never been, you know uh, they were never carried to
yeah.
be to be put in there in the Rio Grande. They're already up in the Gallegos, and you can see on social media, they're catching beautiful kings on Argentina as well. Even up one salmon, it was caught in the Paraná River, all the way up in the northern part of Argentina, where it's Dorado territory.
Wow.
So the salmons have taken South America by storm, I would say. And well, I guide in Torres del Paine. That is the national park. It's a park that Banff in Canada, super notoriously big. For, like you say, national park in Canada, a lot of people would say Banff, or at least that's the one that comes to mind. For me, and the same way in the States, it's like, oh, Yosemite. Well, in here, it's Torres del Paine. Is the when people think about Patagonia, they just have one image, and it's those beautiful mountains of Torres del Paine. And Patagonia is not just that; it's a lot of other places, but obviously that's the one of the most iconic places
Yeah.
for sure. And the river has an amazing uh, view to the mountains, to the massive. So if you end up catching a king salmon and you have a nice day, you get the picture of a huge salmon, with the most beautiful mountains in the background. So yeah, it's super epic, I would say.
100%. The when those fish were introduced, like the brown trout and the salmon, did they affect the rivers in a negative way at all, or did they kind of just seamlessly, move in? And because I know like brown trout out here, or like there's rivers a lot in BC that do not have brown trout, um,
Mhm.
and they would, I guess they kind of like, we have steelhead in our river where I catch brown trout on the island, and they do probably affect the steelhead numbers to a certain degree, since they're obviously a predatorial fish
Mhm.
eating minnows all the time. Um, did that kind of play out at all in Patagonia, or because?
Yeah, yeah, no. Of course, it changed things. That first thing that comes to mind for me, at least, is that the sea lions would start coming up rivers. And you would see them 10, 20 kilometers upriver. And those guys, they're eating salmon, yes, because they were chasing the salmon run that they saw coming into the river, but. Then obviously they need to eat 50 kilograms of fish a day. And so obviously they're not eating salmon, they're eating whatever they can catch. So obviously they're also destroying the trout population.
Mm,
So yes, it changed a lot of the things in that matter. But still, the trout population is good. You see, like, all in social media in these dates, because we're in the summer in here, in northern Patagonia, Chile, having an amazing season, beautiful rivers, beautiful days. And here the salmons are coming up, the some sea trout as well, in the Rio Grande, at least down south. So yeah, like, the season, the fishing is good. That's why people come here. That's why they enjoy it. No, the fishing is good. It's great. But of course, like, it's good in a lot of places. Like the same way in Canada. I saw that when I was in the. Maybe the bull is not the best, example. But yes, like, you have such a healthy population of fish, and obviously super fun to catch them on a dry fly. Different sizes. You can still catch super nice fish in Canada that, like, yeah, I would love to have in here as well. That kind of fishing.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, that's super cool. So, what were the native fish in the systems? Like, I know you said in Argentina there's the Dorados. What's
Yeah.
like prior in Chile before the browns and the salmon were introduced? Was it mostly minnows? I would assume there was some more predatorial fish.
Yeah, no. There weren't not any predatory fish. There is one that it's called perca. It would be like a perch, but actually it has some sort of a sucker in it, so it's not actually a perch. It's more like a sort of small catfish. Weirdly,
Okay.
then you would have that one was a bigger one, sort of. You know, I would say actually similar to whitefish. When I was over there, got whitefish, yeah, but smaller. And then you have pejerrey, that it's silver sides. That the Chilean one gets bigger, but they mainly, my experience, because I don't know before. I was born on the '86 when trout, it was in their best time. If you see the world records from the '80s, like when they were like lake trout, like brown trout in a lake, and they were all from Argentina and Chile, because like they have been feeding on this small fish. For years, for 40 years. And obviously, not a lot of people still fishing them, because they were planted through the trade. And people, like, I heard stories of people actually bringing the eggs and putting them in some ponds that they weren't before. But yeah, but not a lot of people were fishing them.
Ooh.
Now, actually, they found in Coyhaique, near Coyhaique, there was this lagoon that had super big fish, like people would see from the bridge or wherever, like massive 5 to 7 kilo, 8 kilo fish right in there on the shore. And they realized, like, the conservation officers, that was actually a place where this small uh, toad called Darwin's toad, or Darwin's frog. I think Darwin's frog. Yeah, that it's a endangered species in Chile that is native to Chile. And this guy said, okay, the trout are eating them, so we're gonna kill all the trout from the lagoon. So they just bolted, took all the fish out. I just saw pictures, about a huge 8 kilo, 9 kilo fish, in that lagoon, that they have been eating this little uh, frog that is native to Chile.
Mm.
That could eventually keep happening, we don't know, but yeah, trout is not a native species in Chile. The government, in a way, doesn't have a plan on how to um, um, take care of the resource. But today, you're able to come over here and fish. Fishing is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so when you're saying that you were first getting into fly fishing, um, kind of led me to think that you started with single hand, and then you said that you got introduced to people that were doing the spey fishing. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So when you were starting with single hand, I mean, you got into guiding fairly quick from going from not being a fly angler to guiding. people that are.
Exactly. It was just they needed at the lodge at the moment like a saving hand, one of the last weeks of the season, and I got to guide in like 2 weeks. I still, I assume that they allowed me to guide because the guides told the boss, that I was sort of ready to take people because they saw that I was, I learned quick. And that was my idea. I always loved fishing. So when this came on, and then I met Andres Gonzalez from Andres Like Fish, he made the course, and it was super straightforward. He taught me how to cast. He put, like, in a lot of situations, he took us to the river, and in 3 months we learned a lot. Then obviously you get to guiding, and you have to approach the part of the service. What are you actually doing? You're taking care of people. It's not only about the fishing anymore, and of course you need to learn the rivers, but it's the safety. Is how do you handle people? Because people are different. Some people are super super nice and easy to take care of because they take care of themselves, super smart. But some other people, like, they are not that aware of where they're at. That you are in a river, accidents could happen. They believe they're hanging in the mall. So yes, so of course there's so many things that you have to learn, and in a way, obviously, probably they could have gotten at that moment a better guide, yes, but they trust me, enough to be able to guide those people, and everything went all right. And in that moment on, when I went back to school, university, to university, I just uh, university. Then the next season, I was already ready to go guiding, and yeah, I never stopped pretty much going down to Patagonia to fish and guide.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way to solve my because fortunately university is not that expensive in Chile compared to the States and Canada. My family paid for it, but I had to make money for myself during the year, so guiding was perfect because I would make a good amount of money so I could hang out, go out with friends on the weekends or whatever during the school year, and move around. But and actually fish. So in my summer holidays, I guided,
Yeah.
and I had an amazing time, and it was a win-win situation. It was perfect. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, everything worked nicely.
Nice. What were you taking in university?
I studied hospitality management, and then I finished business as well.
Okay. So that kind of worked well with what you were wanting, or the guiding thing, and kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And then so you learned how to single hand cast and all that, and then you got introduced to the spey fishing.
Yes,
What was that kind of
that
like?
was. Sorry.
What was that like? Like a big learning curve, I'd assume.
Yeah, it was a big learning curve at the beginning because obviously I came to guide the Serrano. That it's like, if you know what you're doing with a spey rod, you can cause some damage, catch big king salmon. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's very very hard. It's a river that you have to get to know well to actually fish it properly. Not everyone comes in here and is successful. It's a very very hard river. Yes, to
Mm,
catch fish,
yeah.
but it pays very very well. And that's why people come here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. A lot of the people that end up coming out there, I would assume, are, either saved up for a while, or relatively wealthy enough to go fishing in Patagonia. Where do you find that they come out, very capable of casting and all that, or do you kind of get it all where people barely know what they're doing, all the way to, someone that knows exactly what to do?
Like, it depends on the time and what kind of people we're guiding. When we guide a lot of hotels because there's a lot of hotels in the park that they do their own excursions, but obviously they don't do the fishing. So they just called us, or the people that actually are staying in there decided to contact us beforehand, and we set a fishing um tour. We take them to the Serrano River. In there, like I bring when I come with the car, I bring four spey rods, two single-handed rods, and two spinning rods.
Yeah.
Actually, because sometimes there is somebody who doesn't know anything, and they see people that sometimes they see people catching a big king. We're talking about a 30-pound king, and it's like, I want one of those. Okay, go ahead. Everything is catch and release inside the park, and especially us, the guides. Not only me, not only my teammates from Magallanes Fly Fishing, but other guides as well. They take good care of enforcing it, and being able to see that the salmons are being returned.
Yeah.
At least in the park, especially because we're taking care of people that they don't have to watch that shit. you know?
Yeah. No, I get that. It's yeah, if you see people catching fish and you're not, it always starts to play on your mind, which then makes you either, try harder, or you start to get kind of in a slump where you're like, over it, I can't do this. That's
Exactly, but the thing is, people have different approaches on what they wanna fish, and actually, some people are spinning fishermen, and you cannot. There's already like this part of the park where you can actually catch these kings. It's not that long of a stretch, because then it gets together with another river that it comes from an ice field. Both rivers come from an ice field, but one has already traveled like probably 60 miles or 100 kilometers, and the other one, just traveled 10 miles, 16 kilometers, and then they get together. So from that part off, catching fish is very hard, and besides that, it's huge. The Serrano River already is a massive amount of water. We're using 10 weights, 15 footers, and in the parts where you can catch the king salmon, because you cannot catch them in every single pool, but with a spey rod, you can catch them with a spinning tackle everywhere, But the spey rod, if you want to catch it with a spey rod, there are some pools that they have the good current, the good depth that you're actually able to bring the fly down there, because they're very, very low. We're using T20s, T14 to T20s. Depending. Yeah, it's hard.
it's hard. Yeah. I know casting a T20 is just, I mean, I definitely don't fish heavy sink tips like that out here. I have them in my
Mhm.
in my arsenal, but I love just a very like I pretty much the way I work with sink tips is if I can cast it really well, I'd rather add a little bit of weight to my fly and make sure that I get the right angle to allow that fly to drop as deep as I need it to go, or at least what I think I'm getting it down to. Uh,
Yeah,
and then I fish a lot of the last couple of years. Prior to that, it was all tube flies and um, I guess stone flies really that I was swinging. But now I'm kind of getting into like the more of the classic style flies, and they're just very lightly dressed, so they can drop down a lot easier. So now I'm finding more of an issue of like hooking up on the bottom versus not getting down fast enough. Um,
yeah.
I guess that runs me into what's the kind of fly selection for kings. So we'll talk about browns in a bit, but if we're going for kings, what are people like? Do you, I guess, gear
The-
wise, do you expect people to bring their own gear, or do you guys have everything they need? And
So we have everything like in here, like especially because people are coming sometimes to hotels, and as I was saying, they're staying in a hotel. They came to hike because people come to hike to Torres del Paine. But when you come with your family and you're a 40 something to 60 something, that just likes to fish, he doesn't want to go hike, 10 miles, So they rather, go fishing, and we provide that. And besides, also we have people that they want to catch king salmon. They come for 3 days, 4 days, trying to catch kings. Sometimes, if they have the cast, because in here also you have to cast with your left hand in front, because you don't have to forget that we have 20 miles per hour winds. Every day. All day long.
Wow.
In here it's all the time 30 to 40 kilometers, and then the gust 50 to 60, and on a very shitty day it can be 100-kilometer gust, and you're fishing on 70-kilometer per hour wind.
Wow.
So
I guess that's why you're bumping it up to like 10 weight rods and 15 feet long kind of thing.
exactly, but fortunately the part of the river that we fish, it's all with the wind blows from right to left in a way, and towards the other side of the bank. So actually, it helps a lot if you know what you're doing to just like fish it with the wind, and you get amazing distance. Yeah,
Yeah, we call that a hero cast out here, where you got the wind coming behind you and you whoop, whoop, and then it just like floats off with the wind.
exactly. No. Here, like we mainly tell the people, especially because you're using a 15-footer. Obviously, you do the cast with your left hand up. You do your good snap tee, then you bring it back. Maybe a perry poke, it will help a lot. Especially extended that big T20 or that T16, T14. And then once you pop, you go up. And just keep it high up. And it's perfect because they actually understand immediately that the biggest issue is that the people don't load their rod. They just bring it forward. They keep their rod tip right in front of them, without generating any power. And they just bring it because the line is heavy, but not because they're putting that, rod tip in use. And it helps a lot because they realize that the wind is their friend, and that line goes above and beyond, and you can get those 40, 50 meter, 30 to 40 meter cast that sometimes you need.
Yeah.
Between 25 to 40 meters, I would say, is the cast.
Wow. Yeah.
And you see them, so yeah.
All right. And then going back to fly selection, what's the kind of bread and butter?
Intruders are the ones that work the best. Then other, Norwegian patterns, I can send it to you. I don't know the names exactly.
Yep, fair enough.
Uh-huh. Let me see.
Do you find a lot of people if they're planning a fishing trip out there, let's assume they're not just going there to hike, do you find that they bring their own gear usually, or?
No, they call us and we provide gear. Like in here, like we have Patagonia waders, loop rods, loop reels. So we're like in spey, and single-handed the same loop rods, super good equipment, and yeah, Patagonia boots. What else? Like Yeti coolers, everything. Like big nets for the teams.
Yeah, I can see that. Things that you see a lot on our boats out here going commercial fishing, or not commercial fishing, but trolling for salmon. Is that a big thing out there, trolling for salmon in the ocean?
No, not that big. It's getting bigger nowadays because that's something that they didn't do before.
Yeah.
But in here, the king salmon obviously made another economy, of people, and there is actually people who illegally put nets in some rivers up north, and they catch king salmon. They sell it. Actually, they say that like around between 70 to 80% of the salmon sold in Chile, it was illegally. It was an illegal salmon. It was not part of the commercially established market.
Oh,
It was. So yeah, like it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it probably happens out here too. We might not hear about it, maybe not to that extent, but
Uh-huh.
yeah,
There is all, but there is more illegal market that there is a legal market. Still, the salmon legal market, these companies they do all right because they sell it everything abroad. Like you a lot of people you hear from Chilean salmon. Like you go into the supermarket and you have, of course, in Canada it's different because you have the Canadian, the Alaskan, and everything. But if you go to Europe, there is a part they say salmon, and you have the Alaskan, you have the Chilean salmon,
interesting.
and exactly in Asia, everywhere.
Hmm.
It's one part of the world where they produce salmon. Some it is wild, like the ones that are caught and sold in the States and in Canada. But in here, it's not wild. It comes from a cage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. And then when we're talking, intruders and stuff like that, I would imagine like so big flies with a
Mhm.
dumbbell eyes and all that. Are you guys?
Yeah,
Do you guys
dumbbell
have
eyes,
like
like all these intruders in let me see.
you got some to show?
The intruders or other patterns that are more of a Scandinavian type. They work super good. I don't know all the names. Let's see what we have in here.
Well, then I guess probably some in Spanish and oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you got the jungle cock though. Life's good.
yeah, exactly. Jungle cock. This things is no, let me. Yeah,
Oh,
in chartreuse,
sure.
pink. I don't know how you call this.
Oh yeah, the sonic cones. Right on. Yeah, see, yeah, that's what I was fishing for many years out here. You got your predator wrap in there, you got your sonic cone with some jungle cock. I mean, that's just a recipe for catching fish for sure.
Exactly. So this is the colors are pink, black, purple. Uh, doesn't go much out chartreuse, but they don't go much out of that. It's the flies that work the best.
Hmm. Have you guys ever done some? Have you swung any kind of more traditional flies?
Yeah, yeah. Like I cannot tell you that they don't work because they do, but obviously these patterns, we learned a lot. Not only me, but with the same guys that actually in the screen right now. There are these guys from Scotland, Will Peak, and I haven't met Al Peak, that is his brother. They're from Twin Peaks Fly Fishing in Scotland, and they come in here and with us we do a program of a camp, for people who are Scottish mainly because they're excellent casters and they bring them over here to come catch kings. I
Hmm.
worked with them last season. This season, unfortunately, I have different plans, but maybe next season I'll be back with them in those weeks. But yeah, so these guys, obviously Scottish, they know how to spey cast perfectly. So I knew how to cast, I knew how to fish it, but I was not very good at it. And since I met them, I considerably evolved, and obviously not only me but my coworkers as well. So yeah, these are a lot of the patterns that they use, and what we have been taught
Yeah.
in a lot of things. Then obviously there are other fishermen, not only these guys that we see in the river, because there are people like you don't have to be rich to come to Patagonia to fish. You just have to have the knowledge of where you can fish. For example, the king salmon in Torre del Paine. That's if you stay in the camp, you can walk every day to the river. You don't need to stay with us. Like that's obviously it's understandable, but obviously you have to bring your equipment, you have to bring your waders, you have to bring your, you have to do everything on yourself. You have to rent a car, you have to do everything. Obviously, what you're paying for everything to be set up. You don't have to think about anything. You come, you just bring your person, one bag, just a couple changes for first layers, because then we have waiters, we have boots, we have the rods, we have the nets, we have the flies, we provide everything, so it's super easy, super simple.
Yeah.
But people can come and fish the same rivers and have their same experiences, and they already have the knowledge about where to go, how to cast. And we see people like that. We people from Letonia. There is this guy 5 days, 6 days, and then they go back.
Oh,
So yeah.
cut out a little bit. Oh, there we go. We're back. We could hear you, but the video was getting a little fuzzy, but it seems to be good now.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so some people do go down there and do DIY, like do it yourself fishing.
Yes,
But
of course.
obviously traveling, like I know even when I went to Mexico and I brought my rods, the first time I did it, they tried to take my rod. They were like, "You can't travel with this," and then I was like, "Yeah, you can, for sure you can." But they let me take it. But long story short, when you're packing up your boots and your waders and all your fly gear, that's like a suitcase on its own. So it's a lot of stuff to bring. That is definitely a nice feature. Yeah, and then knowledge, showing up to a new river and not being told anything about it would be a challenge. I mean, you can do so much research online, but once you actually get there and you see the distance of such a big river and how to fish it, you've never seen it at low water. There's so much. As far as the wind, is that because it's coming off of the mountains, cold and
Because it's
hot
coming
air?
from the ice field.
Huh?
It's because it's coming from the ice field.
Yeah, so it's like super cold wind.
Yes, it's very cold wind. It's like leaving the biggest refrigerator door open.
Yeah.
Because it just blows cold air like all the time. It's a rare day when it's not windy. It's super rare. It doesn't happen very often, because usually there's so many micro weathers generating inside the ice field that it blows out all the time. Right now, like it's super calm, but there's still, I would say, 20 kilometer per hour wind. Maybe the gust is 35, 40. That's a normal day. Super normal day.
Yeah. That's like, yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, casting in wind is usually not great. It's nice if it's going with you with your cast, but when you see people fishing on the flats and you see their clothes just flapping in the wind and they're making these casts, you obviously need that bigger rod and all that. As far as you said, loop rods and loop reels, what lines are you using out there generally? Are you using like long bellied lines using a 15-foot rod?
King,
Yeah.
for king, using the feast, airflow feast,
Okay.
that's the best line, because it really, really gets those flies down there.
Yeah.
I would say that's our.
I don't even know. Oh, it's dun, da, da, da.
Yeah,
I love the best.
yeah. It's a very good line. And then when you really, the other line that we use, that it's more of a trolling line that Scientific Angler sells, that is called the Deep Water Express. Okay, so it's 850 grains, 850 grains of power.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a beautiful line. It's 30 feet, 9 meters. So you just use it as a line. You don't put a tip. You just use that thing.
Yeah.
With that, like, it's still like you can cut it, so you can, because like when you're using the Fizz, you have 720. Especially for those roads, is the Fizz 720. Plus the T20, or plus the. So it's a lot of weight that you're casting out there.
Yeah.
forcing the rods, and that's why you need a good rod as well. Because in here, if you come with a butter stick, you're not gonna go anywhere. You need a fast action rod that's gonna take that line out there. And from people that we cast, like that I guided, that they fished the Pacific Northwest for a steelhead from Oregon, or people from BC, they learn super quick with the left hand because they realize they just have to get in it. But the thing that they believe, even when they come for a day, that they believe that they got better, is that they never realized that they could get so much distance. And obviously the wind helps a lot with it. But you develop the necessity of getting distance, because not only the distance you needed so you can get it out there, is because when you're swinging for a king salmon, it's different than from a steelhead or for a sea trout,
Mhm.
because what you really want is that thing to go as slow as possible, and the swing to be almost like a straight line, coming into, so it just very, very slow. And the only way to do it is mending, 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 mending. And how many times you mend for a king salmon? Probably 5, 6, even 8 times, all the times, because you just want that flight to go super slow.
Yeah.
And to get that, so you cannot really tell how much of the channel where the fish are, how much part of that channel you're actually fishing it.
Yeah.
You can tell that at some point your fly started working, because you can feel that on your line in your fingers. But especially when you're using this heavy line and these flies that are almost scratching bottom. But you cannot actually say, okay, I started swinging it properly on the other side, on the other bank.
Yeah.
Because you're casting a little bit upriver, you're mending. So you cannot know for certain where you're starting to. So obviously having a super long cast helps, but there is people who don't know how to cast well, and sometimes they get to fish the last 3-4 meters of the channel, and they catch a king salmon, because the king salmon were close to that shore. They got lucky, boom, king salmon, beautiful picture, 30-pounder. And then you see this guy that cast all the way on the other side of the river, and he's getting skunked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's king salmon.
Yeah. It's I don't know. You never really know where they are unless it's like sight fishing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's you just got to keep casting, I guess, right? Keep trying. I guess so. You're saying like the speed of your fly is a pretty big impact. I mean, that's definitely for salmon as well out here, and for steelhead especially, from my knowledge. Um,
Mhm.
and then so they cast out generally across the river and just do a big mend to kind of angle it almost straight down. So when it goes through its swing, it's as slow as possible, and then
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But you want your line almost straight down on the river, and obviously the furthest away to be just the line straight down, so when it comes so slow that, and obviously working below, that's also what you want. So,
hmm
because that's how it works, that's how you get them. And obviously having a super long cast helps to fish the whole channel, but doesn't warranty a fish. Last year when we were with these guys from Scotland, the guys from Twin Peaks, there was this guy who casted beautifully, and he caught a salmon, only one salmon, the last day of the fishing, in the last hour, in a whole week, and he was the best caster out of all. And all of the other guys had fished, a salmon already.
yeah,
But, and that's how, migratory fish works, and if you don't like it, go fish, cutthroats and little rainbows, in a river or in a lagoon somewhere else. It's not for you.
yeah. Yeah. And like that's the one thing, like I guess expectations for people that have never been out there can sometimes be pretty high because they've watched, YouTube videos of it happening and stuff like that. Do you find people that are going for the spring salmon or the king salmon? We call them springs out here. The king salmon, do they usually come with pretty high expectations, or do you guys before they come kind of explain like, hey, this is what it's like,
I think that a lot of people come with any expect. A lot of people, they don't know what they're coming. It's like, okay, they told me that I was gonna come fishing. Some people actually know like that, and they actually know how to spey. So that's been awesome.
Yeah.
But you get everyone. Now the people that come in here, especially the groups that come from with the look camp, with the people from Scotland, they know because these are people from Twin Peaks, clients from Twin Peaks that they already manage in Scotland. So when they bring them over here, obviously, like they don't want to sell them something that is not, So they know how to sell it, and so expectations are met.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why they keep coming. That's why that thing continues going, and we continue with the business, because we're able to put that thing in mind, and obviously the king salmon in here as well, they jump out of the water a lot of the time just out of nowhere, so that helps a lot because people when they get into the river they see this 20-pounder 30-pounder jumping out of the water and just making a big splash. It's like, oh, look at the size of those fish, yeah, go try to catch them, so they're super excited.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I would say that yeah, I have been with people that have gotten felt disappointed. Yes, one or two, but the majority of the people love it. The place is majestic. It's just the mountains in the back. Even if you're not catching fish, or you see when I see that somebody is casting. He's not casting properly because he's tired or whatever. When you cast these big lines all the time, it gets tiring us after. So it's like, okay, chill out, let's go out, let's get out of the water. Look at those mountains, look at this, and they in the place that you're at. Like, okay, you want coffee, you want something to eat. No, nothing. How are you? Feel better? Just take air, watch the mountains, they go out it back again, they improve, they just needed to get out of the zone. But obviously when you're in the zone and you're doing great, if you need coffee, I'll bring it inside the water because I want you to catch a fish, yeah, I want you to be in there as much as you can, but it's still hard because this is water that comes from the ice field as well, more travel, but from the ice field. So it's still in the 4 degrees Celsius, low 40s. So Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's very cold river. The kings are there. You see them. You're catching the spey. You're casting the spey rod, and if you're doing right, you're in your zone. You're having fun, and yeah, people enjoy it. People love it. I love it in particular just to do that. I don't really care. Of course, I want to catch a king salmon, but if I don't catch it, I can go to that place every day. Meanwhile, I hang out, look at the mountains. You work those pools, try to do the best swings that you can. That's what it's all about. I guided this guy. He told me that in the States or in Canada as well, they say that people who steelhead, they say everything is fine. Meanwhile, you're fishing good water well. If you know that where the good water is and you're fishing it well, everything is all right by me. And yeah, I think it's the same motto over here.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. Like think I've been out 8 times this season for steelhead, basically every weekend. Except for this weekend, I'm taking a break just because one of my reels blew up because it was so cold. It got so frozen, and then everything was good, and all of a sudden the drag system was gone. So yeah, it can be a lot on gear when it's so cold out. But, like you said, if you're fishing good water and you're doing the best you can and you think that, you're getting your fly down where it should, um, that's like the recipe for a good day for me now. It used to be like I would get, kind of sad if I didn't catch a fish or, hook into a steelhead, but it was so often that you wouldn't that, after like my first steelhead was 3 months of fishing before I got him. And, next year it was, at least a month before I hooked into one. So yeah, used to going out and not catching a fish. You start to appreciate, the things around you. You see a nice waterfall or you see this beautiful run with the beautiful steelhead green water and that all kind of makes up for the day. And if you do happen to catch a fish, then you're just ecstatic, let alone land it. If you just hook into it, you're happy. If you land it, well, then you're calling some friends after your day and, you know, telling some stories. But um, as far as fly shops out there, do you buy mostly online or are there starting to be more and more fly shops?
Well, there is a pretty well established market already with representation of most brands. I would say the majority. I work with one shop in particular that is Rod and Gun. I used to when I was guiding. Then I started working with them during the. Meanwhile, I was in university. I would go to university and I would work with them in the fly shop because they rented the skis for the ski season as well. Obviously, fly fishing is prohibited. All the fishing is prohibited during the winter, and here the season is very well established from October 15th all the way to April 15th in this area, and up north it's to the first Sunday of May.
Were you
So,
fish?
yes, you cannot fish anymore.
Okay.
Yes. Then people usually in here there is not a big hunting scene. People go hunting for doves, earl doves. I don't know how you guys. I think earl doves is the name in English. I'll show it to you later.
Okay.
But it's the same thing that people go shooting in Argentina at their plague, and they just kill 3,000 in a day between a couple friends. That's normal in Argentina. In here, no, it's not that much. But obviously, some people, it's getting lost, though. Not a lot of people hunt anymore in Chile. Then you have wild pigs in some parts of Chile, in the southern part. And yeah, you like we have a deer, but we're not allowed to hunt it because it's the national animal.
Yeah.
With the condor, so those animals you cannot touch them. And the huemul is already an endangered species because actually probably the natives and people have hunted it for years, and even as the coat of arms, probably some people still killed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it's endangered.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have thought that hunting was a little bit bigger out there than you're saying, but I guess there's pretty good resources for food and all that out there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is some islands. There are some islands where there are people who have their hunting lodges,
Okay.
and they have red deer. They have different species, boars, and yeah, they do a business out of it because obviously these are big animals caught in the wild, but yeah, they're feeding them, they're everything, So yeah, it's not the same hunting that you do in Canada, or for what I understood, that I didn't have the chance to do it. But the thing that I find amazing, that is the tax system, that because even if you get the tag, maybe you win, you're super lucky, you get the tag for a moose or whatever, then you have to go out it and walk the shit out of the mountain, to just to try to see the moose, and then you can see it, but if it is not close to the car, you may not be able to take it out. what's the point of shooting it? So
Yeah.
maybe this guy got attacked for moose, but maybe he's not gonna actually hunt the moose because he needs to do a lot of work for it.
Yeah. On the island, we got Roosevelt elk, and I believe I'm not a hunter, so I might not know anything or know much about it, but I know it's a tag system, and I know several people that have put in their name for the tag since they were young, and they're older men, and they've never got it. So, like, and then they get it, or they one of their friends got the tag, so they go out on a hunt together, and yeah, then you have to find the animal, and like you said, then can you even shoot it? Is it even ethical to take a shot? Is it close enough? There's so many variants that, yeah, it makes for tough hunting for sure. And like I guess you were staying in Fernie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Fernie, BC, beautiful area, but
Uh-huh.
I I guess the forest there is pretty dense. But like here on Vancouver Island, if you're bushwhacking,
Uh-huh.
you're probably going to be going through like tight stuff where it's hard. So you're doing that, trying to climb up a mountain just to look out, just to see if you can find, a bit of a clearing to find an animal. And yeah, chances are tough. So I know like even people that hunt deer out here put in a lot of work on the off season to track the animals, and then hunting season comes around and these animals know, like, don't go in these areas all of a sudden. They're smart enough to be like, yeah, we go over there, we get killed, so we go over here.
Yeah.
It's tougher to find them. But so yeah, we covered so what, just to be very clear for everyone, when is the king salmon season? When can you get there and start fishing for them? And when does it kind of taper out and is they're done spawning? When they're done spawning, do they go back to the ocean or do they just die? They die. Okay.
Yeah, it is the same king salmon that you guys have over there.
Yeah,
Uh,
just double checking.
exactly. They get pretty big because they have a lot of food. Don't get me wrong, I know that they get pretty big in Alaska and in Canada as well. These are big animals,
Yeah.
but here they have plenty of food, and it happens the same with the sea trout. They go out because there is more food on the oceans than there is in the rivers a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why are in here. They're out there.
Yeah.
So I would say that if they start coming in sometimes in November, but to see a good amount of number in the rivers is December, January, and in February it's already, yes, there are there, but a lot of them, they already spawned, they're in between spawning, some of them are arriving late. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say December, January, February. Those not only here but everywhere in Chile, because this is the experience in Torres del Paine. If you are going to Chile for some other reason because you have a family trip to another area of Chile, meanwhile it's in the south and where is the fishing area that comes from where Patagonia is and a little bit up north of that, the Lake District. Yeah, in there you can as well catch a king salmon.
Hmm.
Different rivers, different areas, but there are out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the same months: December, January, February.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now
Yeah.
for sea trout, March and April.
March and April. And the sea trout, those would be browns. Or
Yeah,
you see
Iran browns.
sea run browns. Okay.
Yeah, Iran browns. In some other rivers, you can find steelhead, but the amount of them, it's very little. And it's way early in the season. So either the season is not open yet, or it's about to open. And when it's about to open, like October 15th, sometimes I go fishing on October 15th, and I've seen not the steelhead, but rainbow trout. that they're starting to spawn. You know, so even if you go still heading, like they're already in their thing. You know, you might catch one, but it's not like you guys that you go in the winter right now before the spawn, right?
Yeah.
About to spawn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's pretty yeah, it's a sweet fishery you guys got out there. I mean, the fact that they were introduced and they did so well enough to like cruise around and make it to the other side and stuff. Obviously there's enough food. Um I guess we should cover a little bit about brown trout now. Have you done quite a bit of brown trout fishing there?
Yeah, no, of course. That's
Yeah.
what I when I went to the first lodge where I worked. They had an amazing spring creek, world-known spring creek for big browns, and I learned a lot in there with the big browns in there, and then obviously the Simpson River, the Manuales, all the rivers in the northern Coyhaique area are an amazing place to learn. You know, like
Mhm.
the Manuales and the more the Simpson than the Manuales is a classic fishing experience. You know, like you can be in the same, or used to be at least like that a few years ago. Maybe today it's a little bit harder because fishing are getting smart. But in Coyhaique, you is where you can use, you know, the dry flies, droppers, and if somebody's not catching fish with a dropper this size, you just put a little bit longer dropper, the same pool, and you can be catching fish all day. You
Nice.
know, there's so many fish and in so many different areas. Obviously, not all of them big, but in there in those pools, you can still catch up. You know, 16, 17, maybe 18. You know, maybe if you're very lucky, you know, maybe there is a 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fish are in there. You know, like in the river, I don't think you're gonna catch anything bigger than 20, 22, maybe if you're very very lucky.
Mhm.
But in lagoons and in lakes, yeah, you have 28, you know, some 30s. Not many, but there are there, you know.
They're in there.
That's in northern Patagonia, and in southern Patagonia, where I'm guiding right now. In here, the 30 incher is a very good possibility because they're all sea trout. Like the rivers are very short. They go from the ice field into the ocean in 30 kilometers. So like all the fish are coming in and out, you know, of the system. So all of them they're getting big because they go to the ocean to eat shrimp and other things, and then they come back up. They come back up, you know, and they're monsters. They just chase the salmon, trying to eat the eggs. So you can still see big sea trout every day. You know, you catch those 5, 6 kilo in there. They are in there. Maybe you're not gonna catch a king. Maybe you're gonna catch a sea trout in the same part. It's crazy,
That is.
but it happens.
Are people doing much streamer fishing?
Yeah, like in here we don't do beats. Like besides, like how are you gonna get that beat that low? You know, like I don't know. Like I don't imagine to be possible
For streamer fishing?
for a spey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no. That's what you mean, right?
Well, no, streamers to me, I don't know if I have one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For me,
I
this
guess
is a
it's very
streamer.
similar. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, we'll be fishing, things like this. So more like a sculpin. Do you guys have sculpin out there?
Yeah, we use it. It helps. Like in other parts of Chile up north, they work very well. In here, in southern Patagonia, I would say that for king salmon and for a lot of those things, we use these patterns, like we were talking before.
Mhm.
Intruders, you know, the patacorva, you know, style of the Scandinavian flies. But for brown trout, you know, I would say streamers, yes, but super easy yak bugs with rubber legs, like woolly buggers with rubber legs, like the yak bug. Like,
Yeah.
for example, let me. This is a little bit ugly, but right now, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that thing works so nice. Then maybe, then look, this is a little bit too big, but the Fat Alberts
Yeah.
always handy. They work.
Can't go
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly. And in a super nice day, when you see that there is a lot of action going, you can use something like this, like a bomber.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what a lot of people will use for your summer steelhead out here.
Exactly. It works. It doesn't work every day, but it works. And then also, for example, in here, look, like uh, these things, like the fish tacos. You know
Fish-
these flies, the fish tacos.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah, fish tacos. They're these kind of things. Like they, even with a floating line, you don't even need a sinking line. You just need a floating line. Just let them, swing on the surface and like almost on the surface, because obviously it's a streamer, but it's not gonna. You're almost gonna see the waves of it.
Yeah.
When it's swinging, and it works. And in some other pools, obviously, it's nice when you have a sinking tip, but like you can catch a sea trout on a single hand. In some parts, you can catch sea trout single hand on a 6 weight, no problem. But then it's super nice when you have the spey rod and you have maybe a 13-foot 6 weight, or between a 6 and an 8.
Hmm.
13-footer. Yeah, that is super nice for the Rio Grande, especially when the Rio Grande is big. It's the perfect size of a rod to catch one of those babies.
That's funny. My Chilean buddy is calling me right now. We have a bit of a joke at work. We always call him the Guadalajaran. I don't know how it started, but yeah, he's a good guy. You know the brand Lippy.
Yes.
Yeah, he was working for them um, even when he came out here, and yeah, so he brought us back a bunch of Lippy stuff, and um, yeah, it was cool to kind of see, the gear that they're using. I was like, that's basically the same type of like hiking gear and stuff out here. But he does it all. He goes snowboarding. He goes like ice wall climbing. I don't even really know what to say about it, but it was cool when he started explaining it, because I knew Chile was a very long country. But then he was explaining how it's like, desert here, crazy snow mountains over here, tropical area here, like you guys really got it all. But I guess back to the brown trout, are you still dealing with that high wind scenarios when you're going for the brown trout, or are they more so a little bit away from those ice fields and kind of a warmer temperature? So
Torres del Paine, you can catch some trout, but it's not. It's decent. If you want to catch where I guide in Tierra del Fuego, it's different from Tierra del Fuego in Argentina.
Mhm.
Like as I told you, in Coyhaique in northern Patagonia, where I started working at the beginning of my career, um, there is brown trout in the rivers everywhere all year round. That's what they fish. It's traditional fishing in a boat mainly. Because you float a lot in those rivers.
Mhm.
They do take you all the operations to different lakes or lagoons, but mainly rivers. The fishing is amazing, and you're doing it similar to Fernie because the weather is super nice. Maybe you can still get a shitty day, maybe a cold day, but it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Torres del Paine, where the kings are, it's tough because it's the wind, it's the mountains, it's the prettiest place on earth, but it's freaking hell when it wants to be. Like it can, the wind can make it very, very, very annoying.
Yeah.
And then Tierra del Fuego, there is a lot of wind. It's cold, super cold, but like in there, is one of the places that I love the most, because it's where nowadays you can fish by yourself the most. because there's not many people. It's very, very hard to get there, like, because it's not only that you get into the southernmost city in Chile, that is Punta Arenas, but then you have to cross to an island in front on the other side of the Magellan Strait, and obviously this place, Argentina, has a little bit more developed with bigger cities, cities with, hundreds of thousands of people. In Punta Arenas, the biggest city in Patagonia, it's 100,000 people, so, and then in the island, the biggest place has maybe 1,000. Then there is another place with 300 people, and then, people that live in the farms. And between all these farms is just beautiful rivers, beautiful mountains, and great fishing.
Mm.
So, also other things happened, that, for example, in Tierra del Fuego, the beaver was introduced, not because we wanted it, but because Argentinians thought it was going to be a super, super nice business, of pelts and everything. And when they went broke, they just released them instead of killing them. And it's mayhem, because it obviously flooded a lot of land. And these guys have done beaver ponds, but because the same way, because we don't enforce on a lot of things on fishing, we don't enforce in a lot of things of other things, like this mess with the beavers. And the beavers, they have done amazing, spas for the trout. Like, the trout used to live in a cold river with not a lot of food, and now the beaver made a pond around him. The trout got sort of landlocked, like locked in the pond. And then a lot of scots started appearing, and a lot of other food sources, and they grew super, super big. And you go into these ponds where you can see that they don't have more than maybe a meter in depth, and you see 28-inch browns, just cruising, like that. So that happened in the Chilean side more than in the Argentinian side. In the Argentinian side, obviously, you have the sea trout, best sea trout fishing ever in, I don't know if the world, because I haven't been in more other places fishing for sea trout. But of course, the Argentinians know how to sell it, and they're fully booked all the time. I can figure out ways to get to fish in the Argentinian side, because in the Argentinian side, if you're not Argentinian, you cannot fish it by yourself. You need to be guided.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. You cannot do DIY the Tierra del Fuego. You can do it in the Chilean side, that is where the river is born. So we have good sea trout fishing in that river, but it's not Argentina, because in Argentina they have the outlet into the ocean. So obviously there is much more, much better water in those pools. Like it's like fishing in the ocean. It's full of fish, and that's why people go over there. So we sell more. It's a mix of sea trout that you can catch in the Chilean side. Don't get me wrong, the fishing is good, but obviously I cannot be sure that they're gonna be in the pool, because obviously not all of them are all the way up in that part of the river, and also they don't come they're not a school of fish. Maybe 5 or 6 here and there in one pool, 5 or 6 in another pool, but it's not like a school of 50 fish coming up to spawn like in the Argentinian part. That some of them spawn in the Argentinian part, a lot of them spawn in Chile. But the fishing is good, but it's not great. That's the difference. So we offer, maybe, if you decide to come in March to fish in Tierra del Fuego with us, we fish maybe 2 days of the Rio Grande. We fish 2 days of these lagoons and beaver ponds that we have, that all this is private water a lot of the times, and not private water, because water cannot be private, but private land access. So like, you're already super far away. Very, very unfortunate would be to see somebody else. But besides of that, we go so far away from the bridges that we can pretty much warranty we're not going to see another soul. Then we do a trip that we take. We travel for 2 hours in our car, and then we take an hour boat if the conditions are met. Obviously, we need not that much wind, for that to happen, and we can recognize that ahead of time. Fortunately, the weather forecast sort of works, and when we see that there is low wind, we program this so we can go try to another river that it's even further. We can do it in the helicopter, but obviously the helicopter is much more expensive, so people prefer just to take the boat.
Yeah.
And we go for the day to fish this other outlet that if you make it happen that we have a rising tide, yeah, you can have amazing fishing, not only of sea trout, steelhead, because in there they're coming and going. All the species are coming and going. This is you can catch salted brooks, salmon, silver salmon in March April. You can catch the coho salmon run. That's an amazing place to catch it. So yeah, it's exciting. So obviously, like in Argentina, when people go to the Rio Grande, they go for 6 days of the Rio Grande. In here, we may go one, we may go two, but we have so many other options, of catching brown trout, resident and migratory.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. We have boats, so if it's on a nice day, we can still go to a lake, catch in there rainbows and browns. Again, there are some lakes, so we can float them. Because in Tierra del Fuego in particular, we're gonna sweat your ass. Like you're gonna walk a lot. Like every day, I'm gonna make you walk 5 kilometers or more. You're not gonna walk less than 5 kilometers a day. So if you're having issues with your knees or whatever, yeah, we can do the boat maybe 2 days or whatever, but maybe it's not the place. We can fish the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande is easy for somebody that has issues, because the Rio Grande you can have the car right next to the river. But on these lagoons where you have, like, if you want a 5 kilo resident brown, not a sea trout, but a 5 kilo, we have those. There are places, but you have to walk.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make you work the mud. You're gonna be into mud up to your knee sometimes. Yeah, it's rugged. It's a tough place to be, and maybe not Canada cold, but cold.
Cold. Yeah. Cold's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's humid out there, I would assume. So when it gets cold, it kind of penetrates anyways.
Yeah, I would say it's the wind, at the end of the day. But you have 6 Celsius. Then during the day, maybe on a like the worst last year on April was -6 Celsius during the night. So we went fishing, and we saw a lagoon first that I wanted to check out, and the lagoon was frozen. Like fishing was over for the lagoon for in those days. Okay, no more fishing in this lagoon until next year.
Yeah.
And it happened with one night, at -6.
Yeah.
So yeah, the rivers, you have to fish with the rivers, the bigger lakes. The fishing is still there. The coho salmon are coming up. So yeah, there is interesting things to do in Tierra del Fuego in those dates. And even now, you can go and fish the beaver ponds. You can still go fish the rivers, and you're still going to catch a lot of resident browns, nice browns. Big chance of catching 20 plus fish, 20 plus inch fish.
Love it.
Yeah.
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 That's
Exactly.
pretty sweet. And then I know for you said for the king salmon, it was November, December, February. What's the season for brown trout? Is it still
No, it's the whole year. Now, obviously, the sea trout is better March, April, and silver salmons are March, April.
Mm.
So yeah, like the more you get closer to the winter, the better the how you say it, the silver. Yeah, because like it's when the silver salmon are coming in. Our seasons are developed, but these guys, they just wanted they're not, like, we don't have a bunch of biologists on the government trying to decide when is the better time to finish the season. They just decide it's like that, and it's like that. There's not much study on it. You know, they just want it over. Okay, no more fishermen in the river. Period. Done. You know, so like if we had maybe, you know, like a season for silvers, you know, because silvers they still coming up on May, and on May here you cannot fish them anymore.
Mm.
So we just actually if fish the first runs, and then it's over. But on a good day, if you're lucky and you're taking the boat out there where the silver salmon come in, and you're like on the ocean outlet, you know, in the delta, waiting, you know, for the rising tide, and you just start casting in there when, you know, and when it happens, it's magic, you know, like everybody catches 10, 15, you know, it's
Yeah.
yeah, you throw that thing out there, whatever you throw, you can throw cigarette butts and they're gonna get eaten, you know, like it's that kind of days. But it can happen as well. You can go and it can be super tough. The silver salmon, they may be already in the river, and you have to go into the pools that are not very big. So uh, you don't swing them. You actually just throw big pink things or very flashy things and strip them very hard. And they attack because for in my personal opinion, you know, for what I see, because obviously the king salmon, when we fish it with a spey rod from super far away from me and with a sink tip, I don't see them attack. You know, I see that I'm swinging, and probably me because passing this thing right in front of their faces. My imagination say that if it passes right in the nose, obviously they're gonna bite it. You're just like, get out of here. Boom, reaction, right? But the silver salmon are aggressive. You know, you throw that fly, they chase it. Sometimes they bite, you lose it, you change the fly, you put another one, you do again, and they keep coming. You know, they don't have a problem with feeling the steel or whatever. They're super aggressive fish.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah, I love that about the silvers.
Yeah. Yeah. Coho are a really fun one to catch.
Mhm.
I guess it's kind of the same. They're quite spooky out here, especially like when you're in an estuary or whatever.
Mhm.
Sometimes you got to go extremely long leader, but generally, if you know, cast out and rip it back pretty hard,
Mhm.
probably going to see a silver come grab it. So
Yeah.
pretty thrilling. I would love to experience that out there. I think that would be super cool. And then yeah, so we covered the king salmon and a little bit of silver coho and brown trout. I guess we might as well. Do you tie your own flies?
I tie, but I'm not a master tire. When I'm hanging out with the boys in here when we're in the middle of the season, we obviously tie a bunch of things. But I am a very lucky person that has very good fly tire that are friends of mine
Mm.
in here in particular. So, for example, this bag in here, you know, that I showed you the other day, I talked to my buddy and I told him like, Felipe, I don't have any more flights. I need flights to guide, man. I ran out. I had a lot of people that they lost them, and obviously I lost as well. Everybody loses fly, you know. It's part of the thing, you know. What are you gonna do about it? You know, you cannot cry for flies.
No.
You know, that's something that you cannot do as a fly fisherman. And but I cried to my buddy for flies, and he's like, "Okay, here you go. Boom, big bag full of flies, all the patterns that I need." Because these guys, they are at home, they don't get to fish that much, but they love fly tying and they tie for them and they keep tying because they do every day. You know, every day they just sit in their you know space, they tie a couple of flies. So when I ask him for it, you know, obviously they give it to me. Then I pay back with other things, you know, might be beer, might be barbecue, might be whatever, you know. But so I'm a blessed guide. You
Yeah.
know, I've been blessed by all the fishing gods because I have friends who tie amazing flies and give it to me. I get to learn from them as well to tie a lot of these flies. So I know how to tie them. You know, if I have the materials, I have everything. I know how to tie them.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, but the guys who are getting the trend of what works and what not are these guys, Tomas, Felipe, and Roberto, three buddies of mine, all of them from Punta Arenas. Yeah, like they are amazing flight tires.
Yeah.
Amazing flight tires.
It's important in life to have those good friends,
No, for sure. I would love to be able to have that much time, but obviously it's either when you guide and in places like this. Imagine I'm in Puerto Natales right now. I have to pick up somebody at the hotel 8 in the morning, around 8:30 in the morning, maybe. I have to leave home at 6:30, 6:45, because it's an hour 30 minutes to the park. Mm-hmm. You guide until 5 p.m. You drop them off. You're not home until 7 p.m., 8 p.m. So you leave 6 p.m. 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. You're coming back in here 8 p.m. back to the guide house, and then take care of your cooler again, washing the car, doing everything that you need to do so you can guide the next day. So it's tough, the distances are very long, and you have, of course, it's hard because you have people that you're not. Today you guide people from a hotel, but tomorrow you're guiding these people from another hotel, and they, of course, they expect a clean car, the same way the other guys did. So, and you have to provide it. So, and it's not like you arrive at 8 p.m. and it's something open. This is freaking Patagonia. It's a town of 35,000, but there's nothing 24/7 in here. And here at lunch, everything closes. Like you go to downtown between 1 and 3 p.m., everything is closed. Wow. The only thing that is not closed is restaurants.
Yeah.
But downtown is a ghost town. Great. And this is here, this is in Punta Arenas, this is in Coyhaique, this is everywhere in Patagonia. Here it's very strict. The
lunchtime,
1 and 3 lunchtime period, everything closed, and then they don't open until very, very long after 6 p.m., maybe 7 p.m. tops.
Wow.
So everything closed very early. So so you have to arrive and do the same thing again and again.
Yeah. So, no, I know what you mean, man. It's I have to drive about an hour to get to the river, and then I have to set up the boat, drop it in, and then the guests meet me there, but we've already done the shuttle, so the truck is down at the bottom where we're pulling out, and and then you got to go drop them off. So same kind of thing. I mean, you got a little bit more of a distance to travel, but yeah, it can make for long days. And then you get into, like you said, you want to have a clean truck, or a vehicle. I don't have to do my meals, which is huge for me, but there's a lot of steps to make one person's day happen, and then you're doing it every day for the next foreseeable future, in a sense. So yeah, it can get busy. So it's one of those things, though. I mean, obviously you love it, and it's a no-brainer. You're going to show up the next day and provide that experience for them.
Exactly. No, besides, when you have exciting things like this river in particular, king salmon are in there. At least for me, I want to go over there. I don't care. Like, for example, when I'm guiding people who are with a spinning tackle, I always still set up a spey rod. And I show them, just like, hey, do you want to try this? Look at this. Boom. Maybe they want to try it. Maybe they want to learn. So it's a cool thing, because the experience every day you go over there with people that you don't have a clue who they are, you don't have a clue what they know or what they want. There is people who have fished for the morning, but then when I set up lunch, I gave them some wine, and they're like, oh, do you have more wine? Instead of more
yeah,
exactly. So it's an experience, and I think that's something that as a guide, it's key, that to realize that maybe I can be a super good fisherman, or maybe I'm not a great fisherman, but that doesn't mean that you are a good or a bad guide. you
Yeah.
know, because you can be the best fisherman in the world. You know, you can cast the furthest away from, you know, you have world record champion, you know, and you catch your fish casting, okay, you catch your fish casting, you know, 35 meter, you know, but okay, you catch at 35 meter, maybe I cannot catch on 35 meter, but I can catch it at 3 meter, you know, and that's what the client needs, because you have to believe every day that you have the worst client ever, that that person is not going to be able to cast 10 feet, and because maybe it's not true all the time, but 1% of the time there is true that these guys, they don't know, or they think they know but they don't know anything,
Yeah.
and you have to make them think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's about the experience you give them.
Yeah. Well, and I know from just talking with my couple of my friends, we've actually had two Chileans work with us on the construction site, and
Uh-huh.
both just, you know, and then I met, so I've met now in my life 3 Chileans, and they've all been the same temperament, just like happy go lucky, like, you know, smiling all the time, cracking jokes, funny guys. But I was talking to my one buddy, and he was like, yeah, you know, we're very big on like sharing and making people feel welcome, and you know, whether it's just friends and family or if it's people we've never met, it's always that same vibe where you guys want to like share a good time. And I think that's pretty special, because I know, like, you know, I've talked to people about some places in the US or in Canada, and you know, the guide, like you said, is a really good angler, but maybe they're not necessarily a people person. You
Uh-huh.
got to be a people person, you know, because even me, if I have maybe what I would consider not the greatest day fishing,
Uh-huh.
you know, it's not irrelevant, but you still have to provide a good day where the person's happy, you know, making sure they're comfortable. Are you cold? Here's hand warmers. Are you, you know, you want to take off your jacket? Are you hungry? You need some
Uh-huh.
water. I always remind people, I'm like, hey, you haven't drank water in like 2 hours. Like, get some water going. So yeah, there's a lot of steps to pleasing people, especially if they, you know, come out from a long distance. I mean, for you, you're obviously getting people traveling around the world. So, you know, the fish is one thing. That's what they're there for sure. But
Uh-huh.
everything leading up to that has to be a good time as well. You know, it's an adventure. You want to make sure that they're feeling good, that they're happy, you know, all these things. Um, I was going to ask because I just got introduced to it not too long ago, and now I absolutely love it. But mate, are you a big mate?
Mate, yeah, yerba mate.
Yeah,
Like, I think it's a part of the culture in Patagonia. Where I grew up in one country, people don't drink mate as often. Now it's more popular everywhere.
yeah,
But I would say in Chile it was very, very common until the mid 50s, when coffee, you know, started being a little bit bigger. But
hmm,
in Argentina, mate kept to be, and same in Paraguay and in the south of Brazil and Uruguay. In Chile and here in Patagonia until today, you drink mate. I don't personally drink when I'm alone, but when I'm with my gaucho friends or people who drink, it's like mate, mate, okay, mate, mate, no problem. You know, it's just a sharing time, or it's an excuse, you know, an excuse to talk, to stop. Either you're working, you're drinking mate now, okay, let's drink mate, let's chat up, let's chat, sorry, let's chat, and yeah, talk things, you know, and it's about whatever, you know, nothing serious. It's
yeah,
And that's the way I would say Latin American people are in different aspects, because I would say that the northern of South America you go, the more party people they are, and the southern, as you move throughout South America, they start relaxing. Chilean were very good at uh, getting together or whatever. We can be loud, but never as loud as the Caribbeans, the people from the Caribbean, or you
hmm,
know, Colombia, Venezuela,
yeah. They
Brazil.
drink
Yeah, they're
rum.
louder. They're way louder than us. Way louder. Uh, but yeah, we love to share, especially with barbecues. We do that kind of thing more than
Mm.
bigger parties. But it's about sharing, and everybody here is as well. Everybody in South America, you see, Latinos are more. How do you say it? We call it like hot blooded in a way with like they you need the to touch people, and you need to show affection, if I like you, when I see you, like, hey buddy, how are you, I'm gonna hug you, I'm gonna give you the hand, look at it, even grab your cheeks, good to see you, good,
Okay, yeah.
if I know you, it doesn't mean that I've known you from your my whole life, but if I like you, you're a good person, you have been good to me, I'll behave that way, because yeah, it's people, especially in Patagonia, they lived in farms for so much time and without seeing many people. So when you see people, you want to talk to somebody, you want to, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
you want to
I
experience.
vouch for that as well. I mean, my two buddies, uh, when we see each other, it's always big smiles, big hugs, and it's very homey. Um, from what I've heard, and then also a little bit of what I've experienced, meaning the three people that I've met from Chile. That it's yeah, it's good. I mean, that's the way I am when I see my friends, my whether they're close friends or a new friend. It's they're getting a hug, and we're going to have some good conversation. But back on the mate, it was funny you said that, because like when we're working, especially now that it's cold, it's like, oh, it's 11, 12 o'clock, mate time. Everyone stops what we're doing. We sit around, we boil some water, and set up the mate and drink that. I I really like it. It was my buddy was like, "Oh, it's bitter. Not everyone likes it." And I tasted it. I was like, "Dude, that's good." And I like it because I don't always want to drink coffee halfway through the day, but I still want, that caffeine to get me through the rest of the day. So I've really grown to enjoy it. So when I come out there eventually, we'll have some mate. Oh,
Yeah, for sure, for
yeah.
sure.
You expect that. I'll get some beers too, but with mate.
Yeah,
That's
no, mate for sure. And then the other thing is that we're drinking here, it's pisco, and in Argentina and in Patagonia as well, a lot of Fernet.
yeah.
Those are the things that people drink the most in here.
Yeah, we're having a late Christmas party tonight. Um just because our one buddy was back in Chile for a month or so. Um but yeah, we're trying to get some pisco, so I'm pretty sure there'll be some there too as well. I love the culture out there. Pisco is a good one, and then mate, and yeah, the experience you get aside from just fishing, from what I hear, is you know it's a special place out there where you're at. I'm
Exactly.
sure, there's a lot of special places around the world and all that, but I think going out there and, like you said, being in the mountains and seeing what you see, it's like nothing you've seen before. I mean, we got obviously beautiful country in British Columbia, and then you go into Alberta and it's flat, kind of not a ton of trees, and then East Coast is all different, but out there you got such a diverse landscape, being so long, and then going into the mountains as you go eastbound, kind of thing. So yeah, I've talked with a lot of people, and that's like almost number one on their bucket list is going to Patagonia and experiencing, hopefully experiencing the king salmon or even the brown trout.
Yeah, no, like I would say that if you're, my advice to people traveling, over here to Patagonia, is even either to fish, because you bought a package to come 6 days to fish with us, with somebody else. It doesn't matter, because like there is a lot of people who do the things right.
Mhm.
That they commit and they give an amazing service, and quality fishing. There, those is the same as in Canada. There is a lot of people who do the things okay. That's what they are in business. you know. Otherwise they wouldn't be. But is that you take it with like amazing fishing, but this is not even close to a place where you're gonna catch 80 fish a day. You know, maybe you're gonna go to a river where you're gonna catch 80 dinks. Yes, maybe you can get that experience, but you don't come in here thinking that you're gonna catch the most amount of fish of your life. You have a super good chance of catching a super nice fish, you know. But if you came in here, because you can also catch a super nice fish in Canada, you can also catch a super nice fish in the States, you know. Is because you want to either fish with less people, that it's super nice to do when you have the river to yourself, is because you want to, you know, experience different people, different culture, different food. You want to drink wine up to your neck, you know. Those are the reasons to come to Patagonia, you know, either Argentina or Chile, you know, both places. Fishing is good. In the north, as I said before, better weather, brown trout, rainbow trout, resident fish, you know, a lot of rivers, lakes, lagoons. Down south, you freeze your ass, but you catch big kings, big sea trout, steelhead, you know. But all those places have in common is that you're gonna eat amazingly, you're gonna drink amazing wine and amazing spirits, and yeah, and you're gonna have an amazing, you know, experience with people that think like you fishing wise, but they think completely different to you life wise, you know, because we come from different places of the world.
Mhm.
So yeah, so you can come and experience that either with anybody in Patagonia that offer fishing, you know. And if you're just coming here to hang out, you know, as you said before, Chile is super long and narrow. If you want to go to the desert to see the stars, because those are the clearest skies in the world, that's an option. If you wanna drink wine in one country, amazing option. If you wanna, you know, hike in Torres del Paine National Park or in another park available in Patagonia, you know, it's there's so many things to do and so little time in life to experience them all. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm
Well,
not
you
only here, it's
set up
right.
there. You summed it up pretty amazingly there. I think the last thing I would like to kind of cover is you know, let's say me. I'm planning on coming out for spring salmon, or sorry, king salmon, same thing, but anyways, coming out for king salmon. What gear would I need? Because I know you said you guys got all the rods, all the flies, you know. So for myself, I would be thinking base layers, thermals, just because we're fishing in some cold areas, high wind. Wind will chill you out very quickly. Um,
Yeah,
I guess you guys probably have a bit of a list for people to go off of once they've
yeah.
booked the trip. Now they're coming, so you tell them like, okay, this is what to expect weather-wise. Bring your base layers. Make sure you bring some sweatpants and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like in here, important things, you know, a good pair of socks always, you know, a couple of those because they go out pretty easily, you know, in inside. Like so, yeah, like depends on how many days. Good pair of socks, good pair of base layer, you know. Important that if you bring feather jackets, feather down jackets, like in there you have to have a rain jacket every day, all day, because in here, like just one, like the wind is moving so much weather all the time that sometimes it's sunny but it's cold because it's windy, but then a big cloud came in with a lot of rain and you have pouring rain, 5 minutes, then it comes out, you have the sun, then it's cloudy. uh, like in the sky you can see like three different types of clouds, you know, one showing rain like the lenticular clouds, and then you have all these other clouds that are all completely spread out, and it's super pretty, amazingly pretty, but that's a sign of, you know, how many micro weathers are being generated by the wind and the ice field,
Wow.
you know.
Yeah. So you'll see it all. You'll see it all, and
Yeah,
hopefully,
exactly. So it's better Primaloft. Primaloft, I would say better for Patagonia because it can get wet. You're not gonna lose the cold. Like you're gonna lose the heat of your body.
Mhm.
So it's better Primaloft and yeah. But rain jacket, I would say for fishing, it's a must everywhere at the end of the day. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
oh,
won't leave
yeah.
home without it, even when I go out and it's like somewhat like I went when I was in Cranbrook, I brought my rain jacket because, that off chance. The one actually I had to have my rain jacket sent to me because I forgot it. I folded it up, had it ready to pack, and then um it just didn't get packed for whatever reason, but I was already getting some things sent to me from my wife. And yeah. So one day that it rained hard, the hardest, I didn't have my rain jacket, but I had like a half decent windbreaker. Um, I was soaked, but I just kept a smile on. It was warm still, but I was soaked. And I was like,
Yeah.
never again. Like bringing a rain jacket is always a must. And I obviously planned for it, but then somehow it didn't get packed up. Um, but for me, I'm sure like even if you're looking at what flies to bring, it's like I'm bringing all these. You don't know what the day is going to be like, what you're going to, how many you'll lose, whatnot. So overpacking is pretty easy for me. Um, I also hate when I get out to somewhere and I'm like, oh man, why did I not bring those flies, or why did I not bring this or that? So yeah, base layers. That's a good one because when I think Patagonia, I'm thinking warm. I'm not really thinking rain and stuff, but obviously with all those micro weathers, you got to prove.
Southern Patagonia, where I'm at right now, Northern Patagonia, better weather. Lake District, amazing weather.
Yeah,
Lake District and the same area of Junín de los Andes in Argentina and all those area. You go with flip flops and a swimsuit,
yeah,
fishing. Well, you can fish shirtless, no problem,
yeah, yeah.
because super nice. You don't need that weather,
No,
But as soon as you start moving down, is where it starts getting, you start need layering and need, obviously better equipment and better tackle. And I'm in the southernmost point, and we used to do this operation in Cape Horn for a long time, where in there was the shittiest weather of it all. Like it can snow in the middle in February. It has snowed to me in February, and you went out in the morning with a helicopter, they drop you off, amazing day. And in the whole island, everything is amazing, but where you're at, you just have like this huge cloud that looks like it's gonna start a storm for days,
wow,
and you start calling, to get you picked up, because otherwise, you're not gonna get anywhere, and yeah, you're gonna have to spend the night in the rain, in the storm.
yeah,
So
crazy. Well,
yeah.
I think we covered pretty much everything I wanted to, but I guess we should wrap it up with your experience in BC.
Uh-huh.
What kind of got you to come out there, and what were you kind
It
of?
was Andres. It was Andres from Andres Fly Fish. Andres Gonzalez. He operates in Fernie. He also is Chilean. I I work with him because when I decided to go back to guiding, I talked to him. I told him that I needed to, if I was gonna go all in guiding, I couldn't do one season. I needed to do 2 seasons because otherwise it wouldn't work money wise, economically speaking. And besides, what are you gonna do the rest of the year? Like I don't want to. I like skiing, but I'm not a ski. How do you say it? Teacher, like a lot of guys that they do fly fishing in the summer, they do ski in the winter. And obviously, I believe that I have a decent English to be able to show what I know in the river as working in North America.
Mhm.
So I want to give it a try. Obviously, we're still in process of doing that. It still hasn't been achieved, but who knows? Maybe this season, maybe next season. But obviously, I need to make it. Um, I need to have another season of fishing to make this possible. Otherwise, even if you love it, even if it is your passion, it's undoable because guiding in Patagonia is not very well paid. It's different the payment that you get as a Canadian guide or an Alaskan guide, or a guide in the States, because so obviously here the payments are different. Our basic salaries are others, and we're not getting basic salaries, but to be living out of this, you have to have other seasons or other source of income.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. Andres, he taught me fly fishing when I didn't know anything. When I was 19 years old. Today I'm 37. So yeah, I I fished for a long time already, half of my life, almost. So I talked to him. He told me that he was gonna see a check if this was a possibility. So I went to Fernie to check it out to see if this is a possibility and if it is a possibility to already know the river, and I got to fish the elk a lot. Uh, my buddy Parker and Tanner, two guys that work with Andres, amazing guides and amazing guys as well. They took me everywhere fishing. They taught me a lot. I learned how to row a drift boat properly. And here we use cataract mainly because the rivers are very rocky and it's much more safe in a way. We believe that the cataracts for the kind of waters that we fish around. Even though there is some guys that they have drift boats, they're not that many. Mainly here, rafts and cataract is what you see in water.
Yeah,
mainly.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was an amazing opportunity to be there and to learn from Andres, from Parker, from Tanner, and obviously from the guys from Elk River and Kootenai Fly Shop as well. They were super super nice with me. And so and in the same and San Marie angling shop as well. When I went over there, the owner super nice. That's then we realized we knew like you guys were working with him.
Yeah.
And everybody in Canada in the fly fishing world treat me amazingly, and I'm in gratitude, for everything, for the way they treated me, and yeah, no, like super happy, super amazing experience, and I hope it can stick. It can be done, so I can go back and try to be there and compete with the best. Because at the end of the day, BC, for what I see, is the place with the biggest amount of professional guys that work. Like not only in Fernie, but as well like in all other places of BC. All the way from Steelheading from Vancouver Island, right? That's the furthermost west fishery, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if not including Alaska, obviously, as you get up towards Alaska, we're getting over there west. But yeah, I mean, I guess technically we're pretty darn west of the rest of Canada. We stick out. So
The thing is that they were saying that Canada produces like the fishing in BC. It's like I don't know how many billions of dollars. Like
it's up there.
So like it's an important thing. So when you're talking about the guides in this industry, in Canada, these are guys who fucking know what they're doing. So being in there and to be elbow to elbow with guys who are good guides and realize that okay, a lot of them they know a lot, but maybe it's not that I'm a freaking ignorant, you realize, and that's also when I was talking to these guys, I realized that I knew more than I thought, and I learned more than I expected as well.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. It's one of the things I love about fishing. I mean, all around, you're always learning. It's not like, oh, I'm here at the top, no more information can be absorbed. It's like everything is constantly evolving. You're starting to learn more, you're starting to understand more, read water better, all these things, finding new holes. So it's, it's very engaging from day one all the way till, you pass on or whatever. But yeah. Are you going back to Fernie this year?
I want to. We have to figure out with Andres. We are working on it because we have to work on the work permit. Not only the work permit, but also the the work permit for this year, and we will have to talk to the fishing ministry. It is to see if I can get a guiding license, because the guiding license says that you have to be permanent resident or a Canadian citizen,
Okay.
right? So we're gonna see if there is a way of. Obviously, it would be very, very hard for me to get a permanent residence in 3 months, right? But, but maybe talking to the ministry and explain them the situation, that that if they would allow me to, maybe it's not going to be possible, and maybe I won't be guiding in Canada. That's a possibility. We're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it happen, and because obviously, being in Fernie with all the people over there, realize that it's a place that is worth guiding in, not only because the fishing is fun or whatever, but because the community, it's a super nice community. And I think that's super important when in this, because at the end of the day, you're already a fishing guide. It's clear that you're not how to say it, you're guiding because, or at least for me in particular, personally, is because it's something that I love to do, and I love to be in places that I love being. Like I don't like to be in cities, so I'm not gonna go get a job in the city because I don't like to be there. I feel awful in those places. I don't want to get out of my home. I get depression, when I'm in a big city. So why would I put myself into those situations? Fernie, it's an amazing place. Anybody would kill to get a guiding opportunity in a place like that. Why wouldn't I want that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I hope to see you out there. I know when we met on the Bull River there, we talked about trying to get out fishing, but of course, schedules always a tough thing, especially with it's not a short season, but it's not a long season. It's an average fishing season, let's say. But yeah, if you're out there again this year, we're going to make it happen. I'll take a day off to go down the river with you.
Yeah, no, we can schedule it. Like once if everything goes on and everything goes in the mode that I'm traveling to Canada on your guys' summer, I'll let you know, of course, and we can figure it out earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sure,
that would be amazing because there is that one day where we were talking and you're like, oh, I got a couple of days off, and I had a day off, and then last minute got booked, and so I wasn't able to meet up with you. But yeah, I would love to fish with you. It's obviously something we love, and we obviously get along. So
yes,
hope to see you out there.
Spey casting, though. Hopefully, spey casting would be nicer.
Yeah, I always have my spey rod with me now. This year, I'm going to do a lot more trout spey, and really focus on doing a lot.
What are you using?
Huh?
What are you using for the trout spey? Are you using an OPST or are you using a spey light?
Currently, I do not have a trout spey. I got, I guess I got a single hand with an OPST groove head on it, and then actually an 8-weight two-handed OPST groove as well. And then, but my favorite line is the fist. Fist airflow, you can't beat it. Obviously, if we're doing top water dry fly fishing, then we're going to go into a floating line So I do have a long belly, but I don't really have like my longest rod is a 12.6.
Uh-huh.
So it's a little short. It can handle it, but it's, I'm looking at getting a 13.6 and start getting into the long belly. I've only been fly fishing for, I guess, 6, 7 years. I think 7 years. Um,
Uh-huh.
so, and like Vancouver Island, you can fly fish all year round,
Nice.
but you got to be adapting to the next season, to what's coming out. So like we got our, let's just start with salmon. Salmon start coming in, I guess like June, July, further up island, and then it slowly trickles down. So we'll still see at the lower end of the island in November, you'll still see salmon in our river, the river that I guide on. And then December, they're pretty much all dead. You might see some jacks and whatnot. Then it's egg season for trout. That
Mhm.
can be phenomenal fishing. And steelhead will start to come in December, all the way into, um, I guess, into April is when they start spawning. Then they head out. Um, but we also got our spring runs steelhead and our winter, or our summer run steelhead. So there's technically steelhead in a system on the island all year round, basically. And of course, like the winter runs, they come up and they go spawn fairly quickly and they head back out. Whereas the summer runs, they come in and they could spend up to a year in that system. Um,
Yeah.
but it's all
In,
timing with the
uh-huh.
water levels. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out fishing and the water levels aren't good, or was planning a trip and not enough rain. So we were definitely always watching our water levels, waiting for that big rain to come. Water bumps up, fish move around, you know, go to
Yeah,
their next
that's
hole.
what we need to happen right now in February. The river, the Rio Grande, is very, very low. We're waiting for it to get a couple rains that will bring it up, so the sea trout can come all the way up.
Yeah.
That happening, we have an amazing season in March, April. So we're looking at it. We're looking forward for that weather of February. That's going to make the key decision if we have a good sea trout fishing or not. Still, fortunately, we have other options. So
Mhm.
the fishing in the if the fishing in the river, imagine you arrive to the Rio Grande and the river is blown up, and you already paid for a week, and the only freaking river these guys have to fish is the Rio Grande.
Mhm.
So yes, when the conditions are good, you can you go to the Rio Grande and you catch sea trout, amazing sea trout. And they have done studies that they stay up to 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes they go to the ocean, they come, they stay 3 years, and then they go to the ocean back again. So
Yeah.
they don't go every year. They don't behave like a salmon, or they just go down because there is good food source. But then when they come up, they stay. They eat. I don't know, other fish, resident fish. I wouldn't know really,
Mhm.
but they move around, and sometimes they spend more time that for or more of their time in the river than what you would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's cool, man. And like the fact that, these fish can find their spawning ground and stuff, it's so unique. It's super cool. But
yeah.
anyways, I got to get ready for my Christmas party, and you've given me quite a bit of your time, so I really appreciate you coming on. Um,
No problem, Andrew, man. It has been a pleasure.
yeah, well, I wish you the best in
Uh-huh.
making it out to Canada and guiding. I hope our government lets you in, the fisheries lets you in,
Yes.
because I think that would be super cool for you. Um,
Yes.
yeah, we covered a lot of good stuff today, so yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge.
Uh-huh. No, no. Thank you for inviting me. For giving me the opportunity to tell a little bit of my story and a little bit of what we fish in Patagonia. At the end, not only for me, but all for all the people to be informed, and for people who don't know anything about Patagonia, can learn a little bit and realize if it is for them. Maybe they have been dreaming of coming to Patagonia, and after hearing this, they don't want to travel. Maybe, or maybe they never thought about coming to Patagonia, and now they want to come to Patagonia. And that's a place that I love, that I changed my life entirely just to be closer to these places, and to be fishing in places like Torres del Paine and Tierra del Fuego, because at least personally for me are those places that they really really fill your soul, so it's worth being around here.
Yeah.
So if you ever guys come, whoever, just no, Torres del Paine or Tierra del Fuego are just the most amazing place for
Well,
me, particularly.
after a couple hours of talking to you, it's definitely going to happen for me. There's no doubt in my mind that I want to go on that journey and see what there is to see out there. So yeah, you convinced me. I'm sure there's a few other people out there that will hear this podcast and think the same thing. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Right on, man. Well, you have yourself a good day. I'm going to stop the recording, but I would like to keep talking for a minute. But yeah, I really appreciate it. And well, we'll keep chatting.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, if it doesn't happen, the thing in Canada, we can figure it out. Early season, late season in here in Patagonia, I have more days. Particularly, I try to sell. Um, for me, in particular, uh, December, January, February, March, April, I try to sell it. So either the last weeks of April is that in Patagonia, in sea trout, it's not good, but October, November, I have a lot of time. And now between December and January, that is the king salmon that you want. In there, if you want to come by yourself and be in the camp, you bring your equipment. I help you out with the things that you need, and how to make it cheaper. You can go and fish by yourself. If you know how to cast it, you know how to do it, you can go at it, try to catch a king salmon. And if you want to make a trail because you're coming with a wife or girlfriend, I don't know, friends, and you guys want to do a trail, I'll show you how to make it easy, cheap. Yeah, like Torres del Paine National Park, you can spend $50 a day, or you can spend $2,000 a day. It's up to you.
Yeah.
You can, you have all the options, but it's full of Chilean kids that they don't go fishing, but they go hang out in the park. They do their things. They stay right next to the river. They don't fish, but they go drink during the weekend to these campsites. It's not rocket science, and it's not super far away. You can take a bus,
Beauty.
and you don't even need a car to get into the park. Imagine that you can take a bus with your fishing rod, with everything, and just appear.
Yeah. There we go. So yeah, you get any price range, you get that plane ticket, you can make it out there.
Exactly, and I'll probably be guiding, and if I'm not guiding, I can hang out. But if I'm guiding, you're gonna see me in the pool, and I'm gonna tell you, put yourself in there, right next to where I'm putting my dude. And yeah, because it's public water, so when you go over there and you see there's more people fishing, you're not alone in Torres del Paine. So when I see more people who are spey casting, I tell them, okay, come with me. Let's do carousel. This part, this is the good part, but let's carousel it. And we carousel. Okay, you cast. You do one swing, two swings, three swings. Okay, 2 steps down. Everybody does 2 steps down, and when you finish the part that I think that is not good enough, not good anymore, you just go around. Because you cannot forbid anybody to be in the park. The park is public.
Yeah.
But if everybody works the thing, everybody can catch king salmon.
Beauty. Yeah.
Exactly.
I guess actually, just before we end it, if I show up by myself and I just want to DIY, am I needing to get a fishing license? And like, what should I expect?
Fishing license, we're it's done, right?
Okay.
No, it's done the show, right? Yeah.
Oh no, I guess we're still on a little bit. Yeah, we're still recording.
If you need that, if you want to be, if you want to do it by yourself, DIY it. Shit, you need to take a bus. You arrive to Puerto Natales. From Puerto Natales, take a bus. You can take a bus to the park. From the entrance of the park, you just walk to the Serrano camp, but you have to have a booking.
A booking
In the campsite. Yes.
Okay.
So once you get a booking in the campsite, you can stay in the campsite for 4 or 5 days and go fishing every day.
But do you need to pay for a fishing license? Like out here, you need to have a fish.
Yeah, but it's not like classified licenses.
Okay.
It's you just pay once a Chilean license that for a week is like $40.
Okay.
It's 30,000 Chilean pesos right now. It's like $35.
Okay.
$35 American for a week license. If it is a whole week, maybe it's gonna be $50.
Okay.
Not more than that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then you have to figure out your food that it's price wise is very similar to Canada and the States on what you can expect. Don't expect because you're in Latin America is going to be any cheaper.
Yeah.
It's as expensive and food wise and price wise between the States and Canada, I would say.
All right.
There is not much difference. Like if you go to Argentina, yes, difference because they have so many how to say it, like the country has given subsidies to a lot of industries to make it cheaper, food and other things. But in Chile, now the prices are very, very high. Everything is elevated, and especially in Patagonia, because in here, bringing anything in here is hard. It's a land of all fjords, ice fields. It's rugged. There's not a lot of roads. Yeah, that's you travel by plane, right?
Yeah.
To get here, everything to get here, it's by plane. So even fruit and vegetables,
Expensive.
exactly.
No, it's good. That's definitely what a lot of people want to know about is what to expect. So I think we really covered that. I guess one more last but not least, just plug yourself, your Instagram and who you work for and stuff, just so if someone wants to look at it, and it'll be in the description as well.
Sorry?
Plug yourself. So like, what's your Instagram and then what's the business that you work for?
Yeah. I'll send it to you, or you want me to show it in here?
Oh, you could just say it, and then I'll also put it.
My handle it's MSAIDES, M Saide, Saide S, my name, and but you can look me Martin Saide, my same name, and it will appear right away. Then I work for Magallanes Fly Fishing for Andres Fly Fish, and from the people of Rod and Gun Chile, that is the fly shop up in Santiago that provides me with tying material, with lines, scientific angler lines. Especially for the one-handed. I tried the spey light as well. That it's amazing. It's the competition with the OPST, but they have done an amazing work with at least with the one that I have. That is the Scandi. It's super nice to fish, single hand spey with a spey light.
Beautiful.
From Scientific Anglers, yes. Those are the people. Yeah, maybe Twin Peaks Fly Fishing from Scotland. Those guys taught me everything about, not everything, but a lot about fishing and about king salmon. I learned so much with them. They're amazing people, and I'm very good fisherman. If you don't have them in your Instagram, you should follow them because amazing. Scottish. If you fish spey rods or switch rods, they have in their channel as well a lot of casting techniques on how to do it properly. And obviously, this is like classic teachings. These guys have a complete different game of what we know about how to teach, and you can be a spey master. It's a sort of a degree, so
Yeah.
so obviously, I believe I'm proud of have learned a lot with them, that it's so traditional, so classic.
Yeah.
So of course, amazing
Beautiful.
people as well.
Well, let's wrap it up, Marin. Once again, thank you so much. And yeah, I hope for the best for you.
Yeah, thank you, man, for you as well. Have a great rest of the winter, and maybe, who knows, maybe next summer we
Yeah.
can see each other either here or maybe earlier in Canada.
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it. All right, right on, man. Well, you have yourself a good day, and I will. We'll keep chatting a little bit after this.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, man.
Cheers.